Hi, I'm Georgie Saunders and I go to the University of Warwick and do theatre and performance, and I have dyslexia.
Dyslexia is a determined neurological state of the brain, so the synapses of the brain respond differently. It is a legitimate condition. I hate to call it a medical condition because it's not. It's a natural occurring type of brain in the human population.
I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was about, I don't know how old you are, in like year 2. I remember I just wouldn't read because I couldn't, so it was like really difficult to read a book or do anything the normal kids could do, and it's really hard to get by, and that's kind of how I got into acting, I would guess, in a way. And then they tested me every single year up until I was in year 9.
It is a recognised syndrome or condition that has an impact on how people deal with language and linguistics, and particularly reading and writing. It can manifest itself in other ways, such as in poor short-term memory, poor word retrieval, and sometimes in other ways it can be also located in things like dyspraxia and dyscalculia as well.
Dyslexia is associated with difficulties with working memory, with sequencing, with organisation, can also be with things like coding, so recognising kind of visual symbols. And I think we have to recognise that the impact of those difficulties goes wider than just learning to read and write.
Dyslexia is literally everything we do. Like everything we do on a daily basis, just having a chat with our friends, a chat with a bus driver, a chat with anyone, or just texting someone, or reading a book, or reading something online, even a news article. Dyslexia is present no matter what you do, kind of thing. So like when applying for jobs, it always comes up with that little bar that says, do you have a disability? And most of the time you'll actually find that dyslexia isn't actually classed in there sometimes. So like I don't know whether to class dyslexia as a disability or not to class it, because it's a really weird like situation. Like when you apply for student loans, it says dyslexia and then you like get extra help and extra money. But then like in job situations it doesn't say, you don't know whether to put yes but other and then put it on, or if you just go to the interview and just say, look, it didn't say on the application but this is what I deal with and it's not a problem to me, so I don't think it'd be a problem to you. But for some reason some people class it as a disability, but some people don't. So
really specific learning difficulties means that you get an equality in terms of when you address different types of learning difficulties. It's more expedient, but, you know, if you're dealing with a department, it's also a term that's being couched in a way to not stigmatise people, not make them feel like their needs for parity in education or make them lesser in terms of intellectual ability, because that's not the case at all, really.
We use the term specific learning difficulties, I think, to convey the idea that it's not dyslexia and other specific learning difficulties are not a global or developmental delay impacting on all areas of learning, and to suggest that the difficulties will be in a particular area. So to recognise that a child or young person will have abilities in other areas and may excel in many areas. So that's the idea of the specific. And I think learning is because they're often picked up at school. So it's when we start asking children to do kind of things in formal education. So a child may have been meeting all developmental milestones and speaking very fluently, and then it's an unexpected thing that when we start doing formal learning, recognising letters, putting sounds and letters together, that a child may unexpectedly find that harder. Difficulties, I think, is contested. I think we should really be thinking about learning differences rather than difficulties. But because we have an education system which is formal and which very much goes on stages, then I think that is the reason that it's called specific learning difficulties, because children can experience barriers to learning in the way that tasks are presented to them.
When hanging out with friends or anything, sometimes it can feel a bit like you can feel on edge or anything like that. If someone's saying something, like, especially if someone's saying like something you don't understand, so someone will be sitting there like talking about science or like, I don't know, something really difficult like computer science, that's what my friends always talk about, or chemistry is the one people talk about, and they say these fancy words and you just kind of look at them and you just nod and you just smile and you pretend you understand what they're saying, but really you don't. They're literally just saying a bunch of words that you have no idea what they mean.
I think social dyslexia is, it is about the chasm that some people find themselves in with this dyslexia, where systems in society such as signage, the expectation that everybody's brain works the same in interviews, on forms, if you're applying for benefits, or if you're applying for a passport, things that are quite unproblematic for non-dyslexic people bring a whole raft of problems to people with dyslexia. And that can compound this feeling that you're sort of on the periphery of society, not within it, or not in the way that maybe you should be or could be.
So there's been a few cases where going to the shop or anything like that, I've had like clothes or something that I need to hand back because they're like too small or too big, or there's a rip or something, and literally I get to the till and I just freeze, and they're like, what's wrong with it? And I can't put into words what is wrong with it. I know exactly what's wrong with it in my head, but sometimes the words just don't come out of my mouth, and it's a bit like, come on, like, I know the word, let's just say it, but sometimes it is really difficult to just say it sometimes because you think you're going to say it wrong, or that in your head it isn't the right word that you actually want to say, so you do get a bit confused sometimes.
People with dyslexia can be frustrated by being underestimated because of difficulties in very particular areas, but areas that schools tend to think are very important, like spelling, which aren't actually that important but are concentrated on a lot. Then people with dyslexia can feel frustrated that their strengths are going unrecognised, and I think that can lead to kind of an attitude of, I'll show you. I've been told that I'm not good, when actually I know I'm good and I've got great ideas and I'm going to make a success of this.
In a way, my dyslexia has probably made me stronger because I wanted to become more determined and more like, I wanted to do more, I wanted to like achieve more, like I'd go home and try and learn a really big word and like be really proud of it and different things like that. So it's just, I wouldn't say it's affected me in a bad way, maybe possibly in a good way, because it makes you more determined to do what you want to do. If you think you've got dyslexia, don't be afraid to ask, don't be afraid to try and see if you can get some help, or try and see if you have got it. And if you have got it, be proud of it, because it makes us who we are and we shouldn't be afraid of what makes us us.